All right. This ain't just a show. This is a platform. Veteran built, battle tested. Welcome to the Misfit Nation. Yeah! Mic in the room, built from boots on the ground, now we breaking the rules. 2 vets, 1 leader, painting the sound, turn scars into sermons, let them echo around. Authors with truth, musicians with fire, actors backstage chasing something higher. Entrepreneurs bleeding just to get ahead. If you fought for your dream, yeah, you are what you said. If they told you no, if you still came back, if you fell to your knees but you stayed on track, this is your voice, this is your flame. Say it loud, remember the name. No salvation, just elevation. We rise again. From the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. No damn labels, no damn cages. If you're still breathing, you belong. Turn it up. This is our song. Yeah. This is our song. Yeah. Veterans standing with ghosts in the chest. First responders running in while the world second guess. Gold star names carved deep in the soul. Your story ain't over, we carry the whole. Coaches teaching mindset, breaking the chains, turning barely alive into owning the pain. Truth over polish, scars on display. If it's real, let it bleed. That's the misstep play. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. If it's heavy right now, and the dark feels cold. It's Aubrey right now. We're the more than you know. Don't walk alone. Veterans press 1, bring it home. Don't trade forever for tonight. You're still needed in this fight. We are the Misfit Nation, built from scars and dedication. We rise again. From the fire, from the fight to the end. We are the Misfit Nation. Every voice is vindication. From the silence to the scream, we're strong. Welcome home. You belong.
All right, Misfit Nation. Tonight, we don't warm up, we ignite. The week tried to test you so far. The grind tried to slow you, but you're still standing, and that means there's still fire in you. This is not just another night. This is where momentum gets built. This is where excuses get burned, where energy goes through the roof. So turn it up. Lock it in and let's light this place all the way up, because when the crew hits the stage, things don't dimmer, they explode. Make some noise for the heat bringer, not bringers, the chaos commander, the heartbeat of the Misfit Nation, Jake, and his shadow partner, Stevan.
Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Jake. You notice I'm alone this evening. Steven had to work, so he won't be on here. But I'm going to do this thing solo. And I want to welcome y'all here. And hey, if you're listening, did you catch the finish of the Daytona 500? Was that wild or what? I knew it was going to be wild. I didn't know it was going to be that wild. But congratulations to the winner. And yeah, if that's anything like, if that's a show of how any of the season's going to be going, I am excited for this season. I'm going to ask you a question, Nation. First of all, well, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to ask you a question. Are you out there? Are you dealing with PTSD? Are you dealing with trauma, your inner demons or whatever? Well, if you are, it's a good thing you tuned in tonight, because tonight on the ToosDay Crüe, we're joined by Matt Johnson. He is a subconscious transformation expert who turned his own battle with PTSD and anxiety into a mission to help others reprogram their minds. He uses NLP, and we will talk about that during the show, and hypnosis. And he dives deep into the hidden patterns that control our behavior and teaches us, or can teach you, how to take control back. So without any further ado, let's get Matt Johnson up here in the studio.
Hello.
Welcome, Matt.
How's it going? Thank you.
Yes.
You definitely win for the coolest intro song.
Well, I cannot take any credit for that. That is all on the producer.
Okay.
He knocked it out of the park. I like it. Gets me pumped up and going. So how you doing this evening, Matt?
I'm loving life. How about yourself?
I'm about the same. I'm loving life. Life is good here in Western Kentucky.
Nice.
So now I gave about a 5-cent bio on you, just kind of telling, what you do and how you got started with it. Why don't you just fill in the rest of it for us? Tell the Misfit Nation who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. I'm Matt Johnson. I'm a hypnotist and neuro-linguistic programming coach. About 10 years ago, I got a severe brain injury. I was hiking in a place called Point Loma Tide Pools here in San Diego when I slipped and landed the back of my head on a slab of solid rock. I hit so hard, my brain rebounded, hit the top of my skull, and I twisted the part here above my eyes, and damaged my optic nerve. I have no words for the pain that I was in. If you've ever been zapped by electricity and felt that intense, like pins and needles type feeling, that's what was going on in my head. For the next few years, I was so sensitive to light and sound, I couldn't even be in a room with the lights on. It's just too painful. And I had a room I nicknamed my dungeon. I had black hefty bags taped over my windows. It was basically, solitary confinement. But I did something that, on day 2 of sitting in that dark room that got me out of there. And that was, I made a decision. Now, the word decision comes from the Latin root de, which means from, and candid, which means to cut. When you make a real decision, you cut off any other possibility. I had no clue how I was going to get out of there, but I just knew I would never stop trying until I did. I started going the medical route. I had 4 different neurologists. First one tells me there's nothing I can do for you, and then tries to schedule me for a follow-up. I'm like, why am I going to come back if there's nothing you can do for me?
Yeah.
I didn't say that, but it didn't make sense to me. The second one gave me a pill that kind of took the edge off the pain. And I'm like, all right, cool. This is progress. Can you help me with my sleeping? Because I was going through these brutal downward spirals where like the pain made it harder to sleep, which made the pain worse. And just my head was in awful shape. And he said that, no, there's nothing I can give you. They didn't want to give me the regular sleeping pills because of my condition. So on to neuro number 3 right away. She's like, oh yeah, give me amitriptyline. And it worked. And I'm beyond grateful to all my doctors. I would not be where I am without them. The only reason I tell that story is how many people would have stopped at that first one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? When you're facing something big like that, you really, listen to your doctors, do what they tell you. But, if somebody doesn't have your answer, you got to keep going until you find somebody who does.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I did, the medical route for about 1.5 years. I read every study there was on how to heal a brain injury, and tried every harebrained treatment there was, everything from amino acids to hyperbaric oxygen. And if anybody out there listening has a brain injury, hit me up. I have a list of everything that I tried. I gave a presentation on it to the San Diego Brain Injury Foundation. More than happy to share that, no charge, but it can definitely help you. But about that time, I realized medical science was not going to be able to heal me. And so it was terrifying for me. So I started looking around. I was desperate to find something.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a lifelong skeptic. I had never been into, the woo type stuff, even though I live in California. But so I started looking around to energy medicine and stuff like that. And one of the first things I tried was called Reiki. And the best description I can give is I told you I had that pins and needles type feeling in my head.
Mm-hmm.
she kind of took those pins and needles and kind of made them fly in formation, if that makes sense. And it took the sting away. I'm like, whoa, I have no idea what you're doing, but please don't stop. And at the end of that session, I asked her, can you show me how to do that? And so I spent a few days with her, learned Reiki. I went on to learn other, healing stuff, stuff called pranic healing, Qigong, Silva holistic faith healing. Lucky for me, I live in California, so I had a whole lot to choose from. So anytime something helped, I just try to dive in and get good at it.
Now can I?
Yeah, sure.
I just want to ask real quick.
Yeah.
Reiki, that's the aligning your chakras, right?
Reiki, it's an energy healing modality. If you think about it, your body runs on electricity, right? When the electricity stops flowing through you is when you take a dirt nap, right? Anything that runs on electricity is going to generate an electrical field. And so my theory, me being a skeptic and all that, my theory is, that stuff just gives you the ability to tap into that field. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's like, that's the best description I can come up with for it. But I just know that it works.
Okay. I was just kind of, I didn't know what it was. And
yeah, there was a guy back in the 1800s who, figured out how to do it. And people, they call it an attunement. You have to go to somebody who's already got it and they can align your, systems. I don't know, exactly if it's chakras or whatever, but I just know that it works. But I did that for, a little over a year and, made huge strides, healing wise, but I just could not get rid of that light and sound sensitivity. It's just too painful to go out and live life. So at this point I'm thinking, do I have permanent damage? And so I started looking around and I found a special type of brain scan. I'd had an MRI, which just looks at the tissue, which if you have a brain injury, doesn't really tell you much unless you got something really bad. And so I found what's called a SPECT scan, SPECT, done by Dr. Daniel Amen. He's famous in brain circles. A SPECT will actually map the electrical activity in the brain. And he's written a ton of books. He shows all these brain scans where somebody with Alzheimer's looks like they got a hole in their brain just because that part isn't functioning. Mm-hmm. And so long story short, I went in and got my brain scan and my brain was okay, but areas that were supposed to be dark were lit up like fireworks. And I got diagnosed with PTSD that day. I'd had no clue. I'd had it since I was a little kid, but I never really, would have given myself that label. You know what I mean? I knew I had anxiety, depression issues. I never would have thought of myself that way, as having it. And, right away I knew what the issue was. With a brain injury, the name of the game is to bring your brain waves down, give your brain a chance to rest and repair itself. Mm-hmm. The PTSD was keeping me in fight or flight and sabotaging the healing process. So I knew if I wanted to heal the brain injury, I had to beat the PTSD first. I had no clue how I was going to do that. I'd already, had, several therapists. I tried the meds and all that. And by that point, I knew that wasn't my route. There are wonderful therapists out there and, you know what I mean? But for me, me personally, it was like a garden hose against the tide. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was lucky. I was familiar with the incredible power of hypnosis from my dad. He'd smoked a pack a day for over 30 years. And I saw him trying over and over again to quit, pills, patches, gums, you name it. Failed every single time until he got hypnotized. After only one session, he told me he never even crave cigarettes again. Wow. I was also familiar with what's called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, from a guy named Tony Robbins. Tony famously had a woman that had 152 different personalities in one of his seminars. He was actually able to integrate her right there on the spot in about 45 minutes. So not knowing much more than that, I dove into both. I got quadruple certified in hypnosis and NLP and all that. Asked every instructor I had the exact same question: how do you heal PTSD? They all tried to help me, but none of them really had the answer. And so I went back, on the internet, and I spent the next 2.5 years just binging every course, every book I could find on either one of them. And I gradually put together a protocol where I was able to heal myself. And, about 6 months later, I was finally able to heal the brain injury. So long-winded answer to your question, but that's how I got here.
No, hey, that's very informational. First of all, it's great that you survived, that you even survived that fall.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
And second of all, I am glad that you finally found how to heal yourself. That's an amazing story right there. And
thank you.
Just learning how to turn your brain off and allowing it to heal. Because I guess it's just like the body. If we work out all the time, we're never going to get any better, and the body's always going to be hurting. You're not going to get any healthier. You have to sleep.
Yeah.
Turn your brain off a little bit, allows you to sleep, allows it to heal. And that's cool. I like it. So let's talk a little bit about NLP and how it works and how you go about using it.
Yeah. NLP is kind of like having an owner's manual for your brain. So it's, you go to a talk therapist and, they're wonderful at what they do, but it's a different type of a process. With NLP, we dive into, how you do certain things. So, I could show you an example if you're up for it. This is one that we all run into. If you think about something that stresses you out, hopefully nothing too scary, but, maybe an overdue bill or a conversation you don't want to have. If you think about that, and if you're not driving, you can close your eyes. Notice where that feeling comes up in your body. Where do you feel that stress? Point to it.
Okay.
And now in your mind's eye, in your imagination, if that feeling had a color, what color would it be? First impression.
Okay. Probably, I'm going to tell you, probably black or red.
Okay. Black or red. My next question is there more than one color?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that black, red, that color, if it had a shape, what shape would it be? And first impression.
Blob.
Okay, good. That black and red blob, if it were moving, what direction would it be turning in? If it's hard to tell, you can try turning it one way, then the other, see what feels more natural.
Probably back to front.
Okay. Try turning. Okay. Whatever.
Turning.
Okay. Yeah. So whatever way it turns for you, try turning the opposite way and see what happens to the feeling.
It dissipates.
Okay, good. That's what we want. So find the direction that feels best for you. And if you would like to, you could spin it up faster and faster, amp up that feeling.
Okay.
While you drain all that color out, all that black and red or whatever color it is for you, to make it totally transparent in there. And then fill it back up with whatever color you like. Some people like gold or pink, green or blue. Now, still spinning your new color in your favorite direction, try adding sparkle to it and watch it start to swirl throughout like a candy cane or one of those poles in front of a barber shop.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you feel a difference?
I do. And to tell you what I thought about was my 2 ex-wives.
That'll do it.
Yes, it will. And I have good thoughts when I think about my current Mrs. Holland. But when I think about the other 2,
Yeah. Okay. Can I show you another trick? This is good for a lot of people. It's all right. So however you thought about those ex-wives, did you get a picture, a sound, or a feeling?
Just kind of a lump in the pit of my gut.
All right. So when you get that lump, you can unspin it like we just did, right?
Yes.
For a lot of people, for about 80% of people, we're going to get a picture, right?
Mhm.
So wherever that flashes for you, notice, where is it? Is it to the right, to the left, above you, below you? How big is the
Okay.
picture?
Yeah. Well, I'm concentrating on this right now, but yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. So it's intrusive thoughts, or repetitive thoughts are an issue for a lot of people. So once you tune into how that picture is, you can shrink it down, make it the size of a postage stamp. You can dump a bucket of paint on it. You can send it way out on the horizon so it can't bother you anymore. Doing these simple type changes in the way that you do those thoughts, those feelings, that's what NLP is. And it sounds stupid until you try it, but it can have some really big effects.
Hey, if it sounds stupid but it works,
It's
not stupid.
Yeah. Only sounds that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And those are just exercises that you can do on your own, wherever you want to do it, and like an exercise before you go to sleep, or to kind of calm your brain down, or anything like that.
Yeah. Anytime you're stressed out or anything like that.
All right. Now, how does the subconscious mind influence our emotional responses? I know all of that just kind of goes all in one, and I guess we just talked about how we can reprogram it for more peace or balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Your subconscious mind controls everything in your body that you don't have to think about: your breathing, your heartbeat, your body temperature, how much insulin you create after a meal, also that pit in your stomach that we just unspun, tightness in your chest whenever you get stressed out, whatever it is. We've all had the experience of just thinking a thought and all of a sudden our chest will tighten up. You know what I mean? That's, that shows your mind is in control over what's going on in your body. And so when we unspun that stuff in what did we do? We gave it a color, a shape, a spin. And so once we tune into those, then we can tell your subconscious, hey, no, let's do it this way. And that will literally change, the feelings and stuff in your body.
And now, will it start to automatically do it for you?
It can.
Okay.
It's, if you want, automatically, I would suggest either hypnosis, which can do that, usually in one session, or with the NLP exercises. If you drill them until they become a habit, usually 7 times is enough for people to, to start to put in that automatic reflex. So feel the stress start to come up, unspin it. Stress come up, unspin it. If you do that 7 times, that's usually enough to start to build that habit.
Okay. All right. That's pretty cool.
It's very cool stuff. I love this stuff. If you couldn't tell.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can tell that you obviously love it, and for a couple reasons. One, it seemed, it worked for you.
Yeah.
And it's just like anything else. If it works for you, stick with it. There's
That's exactly right.
A lot of things that a lot of people do that people will call crazy, but hey, if it works for them, it works for them.
Yep. That's exactly right. Anything, even with like the brain injury stuff. And I told you, I tried all the hair brain treatments. If something worked, I kept it. If it didn't, then I discarded it and I try something else. You know what I mean? I'm big on just, find what works and just do more of that.
Okay. All right. Now, a lot of people out there, you included, me included, have probably unresolved trauma. Yeah. I mean, you can't be, I'm almost 60 years old. You cannot be that age and not have trauma, and probably unresolved trauma, in your life.
Yeah.
So how can hypnosis help us release that?
Yeah. The first thing we always want to do, like you said, a lot of people have it. When I got my scan, that diagnosis was a total shock to me because
Hmm.
my thought at the time was that's something soldiers get. You know what I mean? I knew
Yeah.
nothing about it, but um, the more I dove into it, so many people out there have it. Child abuse, domestic violence, first responders, natural disasters, things like that. I mean, it can be triggered by so many things. I'm not a doctor. I don't diagnose anything, but I would say, anytime you have like when your response is out of proportion to the stimulus, right? So when
Hmm.
somebody does something and it rubs you the wrong way, you go off or something like that. That's a clue. You know what I mean? That
Yeah.
you might want to dig in there. Um, as far as how to deal with it, the first thing I always do with people is we'll calm down that fight or flight response, and that's usually done. We'll go back and deal with the old memories. Um, we change the way that your mind plays them, so you'll still remember everything. You still have all the lessons and all that. We just teach your subconscious mind that it's not a threat, so you can go back and play it without being stressed out. Um, I have another process that I do called timeline therapy. Your timeline is just how your subconscious processes time. So
Hmm.
there was a time before you knew what anger was or fear or grief. We can go back to those times and basically clear your nervous system of those emotions.
Hmm.
There are other hypnotic processes that we do, just depending on what's going on. Everybody's different. It's like a fingerprint. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
why,
Oh, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, those are the basics where we all start. And then we'll just, whatever's going on, we'll just address those, one by one.
Okay. All right. So now I know a lot of people probably don't want to be hypnotized and don't want to
Yeah.
talk about that. Let's
Yeah.
because I'm afraid that if I get hypnotized, you're going to make me walk around clucking like a chicken.
Look like a
I
chicken. Yeah.
mean,
That's the same one I
because
use. Yeah.
that's what we all see.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people, they see hypnosis for the first time. It's like the guy at the fair, hypnotizing people to do
Yes.
crazy stuff. Yeah. If you watch that guy, he'll bring people up on stage and he'll put them under, and he's checking for what we call suggestibility and like the depth of their trance, right? Like any hypnotist. But he's also being very playful with them. He's seen who wants to entertain the audience, right?
Okay.
People who play back are the ones who get to stay up there. Those people are in control of what they do. You never lose the ability to accept or reject any suggestion given. That ability is there with you no matter how deep you go. You always have your wits about you. You're always in control. People who are nervous about or hypnosis, I would ask you, have you ever had a movie stir your emotions? That you feel empowered, or for some people cry, right? Ever had that happen?
I've watched Oh Yeller, of course.
Yeah. So what exactly, stirred those emotions in you? Was it the popcorn? Was it the kid kicking your chair?
No, it was
Yeah.
them killing the dog.
Yeah. Well, you got immersed in that experience, right?
Yeah.
And you had what's called a continually narrowing focus of attention, right? You just got absorbed into that movie.
Hmm.
That, along with an alpha brainwave state, which Hollywood is really good at putting people in, are the definition of a hypnotic trance. The movie hypnotized you. We
Okay.
get the same thing when we drive for a long time and you get that really spaced out type feeling. That's called road
Yeah.
hypnosis. It's the exact same mechanism in your brain. It's just we take it deeper. There's nothing to worry about. You're always in control. I would argue more so because we get all your crap out of the way.
Okay. All right. You're just hyper focused on
Yeah.
whatever it is. Okay. All right. Yeah. You talk about being focused on, at a movie or something like that. The first time I ever watched a movie on my phone, I'm thinking, I can't get into this movie on this little bitty screen. And then, 3 minutes into it, you think you're at a theater. I mean, because you're just so focused on that. So yeah, I can see where
It's
that comes
that.
in.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing. Yeah, same thing. If you want an eye-opening experience, try turning on a sitcom on TV and then listen to it from the other room. Very specific cadence to that laugh track. They know exactly how long they have to hook your attention back in. It's
Okay.
crazy when you try it.
I will try that. I will try that. So now you talked about, the mental healing and everything. Can hypnosis and NLP help with your physical healing?
Yeah.
And your stress and how does it do that? How does it help with physical healing and stress related symptoms in the body?
A lot of ways. It's kind of like that unspinning that we just did. It can, there are two parts to stress. There's what's going on in the body, right? Which, exercise and things like that are really good for, flushing out those stress chemicals. But if you're still doing that stressful thinking, it's just going to come right back. You know what I mean? So you want to address it from both angles. As far as, how it can help, we've all heard of the placebo effect, right?
Yes.
It's been shown to have up to a 70% cure rate in clinical drug trials. A lot of times it's better than the drugs they're testing, but
with no side effects.
Yeah. But just the belief that they're getting something that helps a lot of times is enough for people to cure themselves. There was a really good book called The Biology of Belief by Dr. Bruce Lipton, where he showed beliefs can control what genes are switched on and off in our DNA. Dr. Bernie Siegel, way back in the day, did really fascinating stuff with multiple personality disorders, where his patient's eye color would change, going from brown to blue and back. Scars and things like high blood pressure would disappear and reappear, depending on what personality was coming through. That's how powerful your subconscious is. And so, that power can be negative and work against you, or, you can harness it and, use it to heal yourself. And it's just a matter of what's going on in your head. When you think about whatever it is you're dealing with health wise, how do you picture it? Do you picture yourself healing, or do you picture yourself sick in bed? If it's the latter, then, we got to change that.
Okay. So, and I'm going to go down a rabbit hole here, and I'm going to
sure.
Say you have surgery, hip replacement, knee replacement, whatever, and instead of pain medication, can hypnosis be used to help you with that pain?
It has been done. I have not done it personally. I'm not venturing there. Childbirth is another big one. I know people who have been, who have delivered via hypnosis, no pain meds. They felt nothing. It's, again, that's the power of your subconscious mind. It controls, everything in that meat suit. And, once you learn how to communicate with it, you can do things that, they seem like miracles. In reality, you're dealing with those programs where they live, which, deep in that subconscious mind.
Okay. All right. Hey, we got our first question. So
cool.
From Spin to Reel, what was the moment you realized traditional therapy wasn't the right path for you? Thank you for that question, Spin to Reel.
That is a good one. It was actually before I even got my PTSD diagnosis, to be honest with you. I had 3 different therapists. The first one was good. Her specialty was like executives and stuff and stress. I could tell she was good at what she did, but like for me, it was like a hose against the tide. You know what I mean? It wasn't going to work. And so I had another one who was no good, and for me anyway. And I had the third one that I tried. It's like everything was another pill. Every issue that I had was just another pill. And I'm just like, with all due respect, I didn't say this, but that's not a therapist. That's a glorified drug dealer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I did not respond well to the drugs. And so I'd gotten all that out of the way before I even got my diagnosis. So going in, I knew that it wasn't for me. Now there are some phenomenal therapists out there, I know, and zero disrespect to any of them. And just for me, for what I had going on, just it just didn't work well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that question. Now, I'm going to dive into the other side of it. We've talked about all the good things. Of course, I kind of looked around. There are some naysayers out there about NLP.
Okay.
And there, a lot of folks out there, and we'll discuss who these folks are here in a minute.
Okay.
They're calling it, pop psychology, pseudoscience, and that there's no empirical evidence that it works. And I look at you right now and I'm like, well, here's one case that it worked. But I guess, and I'm just going to come out and say it, is it the Association of Medical Professionals and stuff that are saying, all this because they lose money because of this, or, what?
That's possible. From what I've seen, I've dealt with, naysayers like this. Usually they haven't tried it.
Okay.
Don't knock it till you try it is my response to that. If you try it and it doesn't work for you, knock it all day. But, I've been doing this for 8 years now. I've had a grand total of 2 people that I've given their money back because I wasn't able to help them. One of them was freaked out about hypnosis just in general. She was fighting me the entire time. So it's like, all right, this isn't for you. That's cool. You know what I mean? I get that it's not for everybody. The second one had what's called secondary gain, which is if I take away your problem, then you lose something else that's more important to you. I won't say what it was to just keep it private, but like for brain injury, I did a lot of work with the San Diego Brain Injury Foundation back in the day. If I was able to heal someone who was on a disability check, then there's a possibility they might lose that check. You know what I mean? So they're kind of hang on. You know what I mean? I think something like that was going on in the second case. But I can also point to tons of people who have told me I've changed their lives and, have evidence that that's happened. People have, gotten out of bad relationships. They've got, promotions. They've, finally started the business that they've been, dabbling in for years. It's just, and I'm the first to admit that, it may not be for everybody, but, there are people who it helps tremendously. And again, my response, try it first before you knock it.
Okay. All right. We've got another question in. How does NLP actually reprogram limiting beliefs at the subconscious level? Thank you for that question.
That's a good one. Now, the example I like to give for this is think back to the first time you ever drove a car, right?
Okay.
Your hands were 10 and 2 on the steering wheel. You were super focused on not hitting anything, right? You had to be. Fast forward a few years, you got coffee in one hand, cell phone in the other. You know what I mean? But how did the process that took all of your attention on day one became so automatic? It's because you did it over and over again to the point you didn't have to think about it. So your subconscious learned how to drive, right? Most of us have had the experience of driving and realizing we haven't even been paying attention, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, had you done that on day one, you would have hit something, but your subconscious learned how to do it in the meantime. And so, you were able to still do it, even, your attention was off in la la land. Very cool process for driving, but problems can happen when we teach it things we don't want, negative emotions, limiting beliefs, bad habits, things like that. When those programs get stuck down in there, that's when hypnosis and NLP can go in and rewrite them. Those are the best tools that I, personally have found. But that's what they're designed to do. It's your subconscious doesn't think. It's like a supercomputer. It just runs whatever programs are in there. And when you try, in an example of like a bad habit, a lot of people try to, like quit smoking or whatnot, and or basically any bad habit. It's hard to do, right? It takes a lot of willpower. By your 30th birthday, your subconscious mind controls up to 95% of all your day-to-day behaviors, like driving and, brushing your teeth, putting on your shoes, and when those programs, get wired into the brain, there's a saying, it's got neurons or brain cells that wire together. So every time you have that habit or, fire off that, that pattern, it physically wires to make it easier to have the next time. And so going in and breaking it down, if you try to do it with the conscious mind, that 5%, you can do it. It's kind of like digging a ditch with a spoon, though. You're going to be there a while. Hypnosis and NLP, where it's like where we tuned into, the pictures that you were playing, or the colors of the stress and all that. We tune into how you do those programs, and then we change them.
All right. That's dealing with the mind. That's some interesting stuff on, just how healing your head can heal the rest of your body. That's just, and you talk about bad habits, or, subconscious habits that you have, and maybe they're not subconscious habits, but now hypnosis, and like, everybody talks about going to a hypnotist to quit smoking. Now they can probably do hypnosis for just about any. I mean, can they do it for drinking and drug abuse as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Drinking, drugs, gambling, you name it. Any kind of like addiction. They all, I don't care what it is, if it's, drinking, drugs, video games, whatever, they all have one thing in common. The person who's addicted will play a mental movie that ends at them getting their fix, whatever that is. So take it like an extreme example. Somebody's addicted to heroin. If you take that mental movie and expand it to past them getting that fix, and then you fast forward a few years in the future where they've lost their family, their house, their, everything they own, and they're laying alone in a ditch, shaking from withdrawals, freezing cold, get them to play that movie, and the answer to the question, do I really want another fix, will start to change. Right. Okay. And so it's a lot of that. It's wiping out the triggers. How do I know when it's time to do it? Is a certain part of the day, or whatnot, when I get around my friends or whatever. That was my dad's big one for smoking. When he got around his buddies, it was always time to light up. You know what I mean? Going in and reprogramming those triggers, and also getting rid of the physical stuff, the cravings and all that. It's, hypnosis is phenomenal for all that.
Okay. All right. Got another question in here from Greg Nice. Can someone rewire deep trauma without reliving it repeatedly? Thank you for that question, Greg Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't mean to speak bad about therapists at all. I had nothing but a huge amount of respect for them. I kind of give you an idea of, the differences. With therapy, you talk about your problems, and you relive them, and it can get to a point where you kind of, like I said, those neurons that fire together, wire together, you're kind of digging that groove deeper in the mind. I'm not an advocate for that. With NLP and hypnosis, it's basically you revisit it once. We do it in a very safe and controlled way so that we're not bringing up those emotions. And then we take that emotional sting away from the memory. We just teach your subconscious, hey, this is not a threat anymore. So you can still remember it without all the emotional charge coming back up, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a one-shot deal. Yeah, one and done for the most part.
Okay, because I know, I've been to some therapists before, and they always try to pick up in your next session. They're like, okay, last week we talked about this, and then you got to rehash all that. It seems like each
And
session.
that's,
So,
that's usually dealing with your conscious mind, which again is 5%.
yes.
You know what I mean? I deal with that 95% behind the wheel.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And it's definitely another way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just a
Now,
different tool. You know what I mean? It's,
oh, yeah.
there are people who therapy is absolutely perfect for. You know what I mean? It's just, it's, you wouldn't, well, I'll give you my example. For, if you've got like a broken leg or heart disease or something like that, Western medicine is the best in town. Nothing can touch it.
Hmm.
But if you've got like a chronic condition, Eastern medicine, a lot of times, my personal opinion, as a non-doctor, is better than Western. It's Eastern medicine is all about, we talked about that electrical system in the body, right?
Yes.
Eastern medicine is all about getting those circuits to flow the right ways. And Western medicine has overlooked that. And it's just about picking the right tool for you. Everybody's different. It's like a fingerprint. And so you just kind of got to find, if you can find somebody who's, healed what you have, and they can show you the way, then just do what they did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, if not, then you got to create the way, which is harder, but it can be done. It's just, trial and error. You just keep going until you find what works for you.
Okay. All right. And I'm a big fan of, acupuncture, acupressure.
Yes. Same.
Those,
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that's something I never would have tried until I had to. You know what I mean?
I understand. And I think a lot of it has to do with money.
Okay.
I'm-
Yeah. There are some financial incentives to not, yeah. I'll leave it at that. But yes, I agree.
if I can go to an acupuncturist and for $50 or $100 be healed of pain or whatever, that's money that somebody's not going to be getting for pain pills or what I'm talking
So they're not taught, that in medical school, you know what I mean? I'm not saying doctors are evil. My doctor, my family doctor is a brilliant guy, super smart on what he does, but you try to talk to him outside of that scope and it gets dismissed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know what he's good at. And if it's something outside of that, then I try to find somebody who's good at that. You know what I mean?
I completely understand. We got another question in here from Men Are Better Drivers.
No comment on that one.
No. What's the biggest misconception people have about hypnosis?
That I'm going to make them cluck like a chicken. Like I said,
okay.
People, it's, like I said, people get that introduction to it like it's that guy from the fair, and it can in a way it can lower your inhibitions, kind of like alcohol. You know what I mean? But you're still in control of what you're doing. It's not like being drunk and you wake up thinking, oh, what did I do last? No, you're still totally in control. There's so little info out there about, just what can be done with hypnosis. Though it's, most people, like you said, they think of it, stop smoking, lose weight. But, I'm constantly blown away by, just, the changes people can make. Just when we go in and, find what's ailing them and rewrite that program. Just to give you an example, like my very first client, I went through NLP school just trying to solve my own stuff. You know what I mean? I really hadn't occurred to me to work with other people yet. I had a friend, I was like 2 weeks out of NLP school. I had a friend who she posted on Facebook about her daughter having dyslexia. And I remembered like this little 10-second blurb about, how to work with it. And I'm like, I think I can help her. So I drive up, from San Diego to Carlsbad. I'm sweating bullets the entire time. And so I get up there and she went from, struggling to spell like 3 and 4 letter words to spelling, complex 3-syllable, 11, 12 letter words forwards and backwards within 20 minutes. I mean, that, it shows you the depth, what can be done. You know what I mean? There's just so many different ways we can heal ourselves with it.
Yes. And that's actually the first review that I read on your website.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. No, she was a friend of mine. I was, after I did that, I was a blubbering idiot for like the next 3 hours. It's like, holy shit, I did that. You know what I mean? But that was the day I got hooked. I was like, all right, I gotta do this. This is cool.
Okay. Now, that last question that we answered, that kind of was leading into what I was going to ask, because another thing that the naysayers are saying is the potential for manipulation.
Yeah. You
And the
have more
ethics
power
involved.
than you think you have. There are these things called con artists out there, and they can manipulate you just as normal consciousness, like you and I are, right? If you came across someone like that, then you would have a problem. Does the hypnosis amplify that? I don't know of a way to do that. It's, I wouldn't say it's impossible, but if you look at if someone seems, if you don't trust them in your gut, or they've got that used car salesman type of a vibe, you know what I mean? I would say trust your gut on that. If it's somebody, like in my case, I got into this stuff to heal myself. I had no other choice. And, I didn't do it to entertain people. I didn't do it to, you know what I mean? So look at the background, you know what I mean? And, are there going to be, con artists in any field? Yeah. Yeah. But, are you going to get put under and then program like a Manchurian candidate? I don't think that's possible. I don't know how to do it. I know brainwashing is the thing and all that, but it doesn't take hypnosis to do that.
And I think something like that would take years, or at least multiple sessions.
Hypnosis. I mean, if somebody had the intent of doing that, then it might speed up the process. I'm just guessing, but I'm not aware of anyone who has been able to do anything like that, or somebody's been manipulated by hypnosis. Otherwise, you'd see people claiming they were hypnotized in court cases and things like that. I didn't do it. It's not my fault.
Yeah. I got another question here, and I will answer this one. Elaine loves you. Can you hypnotize Lacey? No.
Well, I got some bad news for you. Yeah, there's a good chance you're staring at a screen. You probably are.
Yeah.
We're actually going in and out of hypnotic trances all day long. It's like the movies or the driving thing that I was talking about before. We're going in and out of them all the time. It's just most of them are just like really shallow. Right? But it's the same mechanism in the brain. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like when you're, when somebody's looking at their phone and you're talking to him, and then, a couple seconds later they look at and they're like, what'd you say?
Yeah.
And, yes, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that. Got another one here from Kellamal. If someone feels stuck today, what's the first step toward changing their subconscious patterns? Thank you for the question, Kellamal.
Okay. You didn't say what you were stuck in, but all right, I'll give you a few tricks. All right. So first of all, the first thing you want to do is change that mental movie like you were playing it in your head, right? So if you think ahead to April 15th, when, we all have to do our taxes, most of us will procrastinate right up until, the night before or the morning of or whatever. You're going to have to do them the entire time. You got all your paperwork and everything, but why do you wait until that last minute, right? Up until that day, when you think about doing your taxes, you play a mental movie of, this is going to suck. I don't feel like doing it right now. But on the 15th, what happens on that day? all of a sudden that movie changes to, oh, if I don't get this done, then I'm going to owe all these fines and all this. So you change your, it's everything people do is either to avoid pain or to gain pleasure. Right. So if you think about, what's the pain of not doing it? And then what's the pleasure of getting it done? When you're playing those mental movies, that's when you start to change your behavior. You get yourself out of stuckness. I had a time in my life when my kids were small. I had, a full-time job. I was starting a side hustle on the side. I was busy. And so the only time that I could get up and go to the gym was to get up at 4 a.m. and go in. And that is not easy to do. But I took a couple of approaches. First of all, that I had, I call it fun gets done. If you can associate enough pleasure to something, then you'll wind up doing it. For me, I mentioned Tony Robbins before. I was listening to his programs like crazy at the time, and I've always been a big basketball player. And so I would have Tony in my ears, and I'd always end my workouts with 10 minutes of shooting hoops. And when that alarm goes off in the morning, and I never once did I feel like getting up, but if I would just flash on that image, all right, I'm going to feed my mind. I'm going to, get to go play basketball. That's when I got up and went in. And the second approach is I call it 2 millimeters. If you think, all right, every day or every year, the first week of January in my gym, it is packed. You can't get to a machine. You can't get a spot in the parking lot. It's, all these New Year's resolutions people come in. Fast forward to week 2 and about half the new people are gone. By week 3, it's usually back to normal, right? Why do so many people give up 2 weeks into a 52-week year, right? Because most of us, and I've been guilty of this too, we take the approach of, I'm going to starve myself and work out 6 hours a day, right? But for me, I usually quit around day 2 or 3 with that approach. The way you want to do it is, instead of trying to, ramp up all that pain all at once, you want to just take tiny little bites of it. So if you just start where you are, and if it's intimidating to go to the gym, for example, just go swipe your card the first day, maybe day 2, try a machine, something like that, but just make these 2 millimeter shifts every day. If you improve 1% a day, that's not 365%. At the end of the year, that 1% will keep snowballing. And it's at the end of 365 days, it's 3,700%. That's 37 times improvement just by 1% done every single day. That's the way you do it. And, that it can work for anything. Just, get your mind focused on the right things, the pain of not doing it and the pleasure of doing it. And then just, what's that first tiny little bite that I can start to take, and just get that momentum going and just keep it going.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we are going to start to wrap it up here. Got a couple things. If somebody wants to contact you, how do they get in touch with you, Matt?
You can go to my site. It's mattjohnsonnlp.com. That's mattjohnsonnlp.com. And you've got my free course up there. It's called Calm on Command, where we take all, that stress, all the things that lead to it. We do the unspinning like we did before. We work with the pictures and all that. And I've also got a hypnosis in there to call it dissolve and resolve stress from the mind and the body. But that's all free. And you can find my other programs up there. But nice looking site, huh?
Yeah, it is. That's a good looking site. Okay, now, tough question for you in 3 parts.
Okay.
What are 3 things that are non-negotiable that Matt has to do every day for his day to be complete?
Okay. 3 non-negotiables are: I have to work my body. I'm getting to the age where I feel it when I don't. So, number 2, I have to make some kind of progress. Usually my business or whatnot, but I've got to do something I'm going to thank myself for the next day. Right.
Okay.
My third non-negotiable is I have to meditate. And that when you start doing, like a meditation routine, it naturally calms you down. You'll be a calmer person throughout the day. Once you build that habit, it teaches your brain to reset. And once you start to calm down like that, your thoughts get clear. You make better decisions. You know what I mean? Just life changes in a lot of different ways for you. But
all right.
Yeah, those would be my three.
All right. Well, hey, Misfit Nation, that's going to be about it for tonight. And I just want to remind you, check us out on Reads Across America at 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. And as always, Misfit Nation, if you're out there, you're feeling the darkness, you don't think that you want to make it till tomorrow, don't take that permanent solution to a temporary problem. Call somebody. Get on that telephone, dial 988, take option 1 if you're a veteran. Somebody on that line will get you help, because tomorrow will not be as beautiful without you in it. So with that being said, Matt, thank you for that. Hey, I come into this a skeptic. I'm going to tell you, I did. But I learned a lot tonight. I hope the Misfit Nation learned a lot tonight. Really enjoyed having you on here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure.
All right, Misfit Nation, we love you, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for checking us out and being a part of the Misfit Nation show. Don't forget to visit our website at themisfitnation.com. That's themisfitnation.com. Check out all our past episodes and get some of the great Misfit Nation gear for you and your family. As always, be humble, stay hungry, and keep hustling, because we are